In a world where fantasy football has taken over the land, two unlikely heroes will arise. They call themselves the Fantasy Football Apocalypse. But who are they?
Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy, yes, they are the boys. When it comes to fantasy advice, they got the noise. One's a little loud, and he's far from cautious. His voice alone will turn your stomach nauseous. MC number 2, well, it's just not that simple. Some would even question that he's borderline mental. These two combined will try to be funny, but their main goal is to try to make you money.
Oh, yes! Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is time for a Thanksgiving Day edition of the Fantasy Football Apocalypse. I am Trent Scott, here to stuff your fantasy football lineups, along with my turkey of a partner, Jeremy Scott.
The metaphors are on point this morning, Trent. Happy Thanksgiving. I am thankful for fantasy football, and more importantly, daily fantasy football leagues, such as FanDuel and or
Be thankful for them
DraftKings.
now, because you may not have them in a few weeks.
Don't take them for granted, either. This has Sportsbook and Full Tilt written all over
100%,
it,
yeah.
but that's another story. But Trent, we had I think this was a first, actually, in our competition last week.
Yeah, for those of you who've been following us, you all know we have $100 riding on our head-to-head record against each other this year. Coming into last week, we were tied. It was a dead race, 5-5. So one of us was going to assume control of the lead, except we tied.
Unbelievable. I hate tying. I was telling Trent before the show, I actually tied in a decimal system about, I think it was last week. Like, what are the odds of that? Tying is just... When it comes down to standings and playoffs, sure, tying is better than losing, but I would just, in the moment, rather lose than tie.
100%.
Yeah.
Tying is the worst.
Oh, it's miserable.
There's nothing more unsatisfying than... Because it's like we didn't play at all. Like, nothing changed.
Speaking of tying, we're now 5-5-1.
So, this week, now, hopefully one of us will take control.
Ooh, this is a big week. We got... Both of us have some very good picks this week. Naturally, I have the better ones, but we have some good picks that we need to get out to you for those of you that will listen before the afternoon and the night game. Due to the holidays, we've had kind of a delay in recording, but we are so dedicated to the game that we are making this happen on Thanksgiving morning.
Absolutely. But before we do all that, Jeremy, I have 3 questions I want to ask you, okay?
All right.
My first question to you, Jeremy, is Brock Osweiler better than Peyton Manning?
This year I would say no. Overall, I would say yes.
My second question, Jeremy.
No, well, I'll elaborate more. I kind of thought you would laugh, but I can't say yes because Osweiler. I mean, he had an average game. He didn't really show anything, but Peyton's obviously hurting. I mean, his body is just deteriorating before our eyes. All right, what's the next question?
The second question, Jeremy, is Matt Hasselbeck better than Andrew Luck?
That's a no-brainer. Of course he is.
The Colts 3-0 with Hasselbeck, 2-5 with Andrew Luck.
Weren't they down, they were down big last Sunday, too, and then Hasselbeck led the comeback.
Yes, he most certainly did.
At least we get to know what kind of player Brian Hoyer will evolve into. I can't even speak. At least we know what kind of a player Brian Hoyer will evolve into, because bald players always play the same.
All right, and Jeremy, my final question for you before we move on to our picks. Is Thomas Rawls better than Marshawn Lynch?
At this point in their career, I would say yes. I don't think we've seen enough Rawls, but from what we have seen, it's been very good. It's just that magic number, 30. When running backs hit 30, other than Adrian Peterson, they typically just start going downhill. But Rawls is definitely going to be the better running back for the rest of the year.
And as you pointed out to me, he's actually the number one projected running back, and I believe you said it was the CBS this week?
Yeah, he is the number one projected running back. Now, I don't understand that for more reasons than one, but also Pittsburgh's run defense is top 5 in the league. Like, I don't get what their thinking is, but no, they're actually number 1 in fantasy points against the run.
Ain't no problem for Thomas Rawls.
Thomas Rawls. All right, Trent, let's get on the picks.
All right, let's get to it. Since we tied last week, we decided to let Jeremy keep his honors like if this was golf. So Jeremy's going to retain the first pick this week. So Jeremy, who is your quarterback?
My quarterback is Marcus Mariota. He's been playing well. 2 of the last 3 games he's had close to 20. One of those was 32. So I think he feeds off that. I think Mariota is going to be a pretty special player throughout his career. What do you think, Trent?
At the beginning of the year, I think, at least to the listeners of our show, I pretty memorably picked Marcus Mariota in his very first game, actually his first 2 games, and he did very well in both of those. I like Mariota's future. They're playing the Raiders, who have really struggled the last 3 weeks. I still think Mariota clearly needs more weapons around him, but it's a good matchup. It's at home. So yeah, I can definitely see Mariota excelling this week.
Definitely agree he needs more weapons. But Trent, give us your quarterback pick of the week. Also, Mariota's playing the Oakland 30th against the quarterback, so he's a great FanDuel pickup.
Yeah, for me, along the same lines, I'm picking a pretty young quarterback. He's in his second year now. He's played pretty well recently, last week notwithstanding. Teddy Bridgewater of the Minnesota Vikings. They're playing the Atlanta Falcons, who we just talked about. I know you're going to say the Falcons have a statistically good pass defense, but I've watched a lot of Falcons this year. I am not impressed by them at all. They started out 5-0, and now they're 6-4. This is a team that is really struggling, and I think the Vikings hand the Falcons another loss. I think Bridgewater goes for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He could. My thoughts on Bridgewater, if you're looking for a guy to not get you more than 20 but not get you less than 10, then that's a very consistent pick. But when you're going for cheapness in FanDuel, that's pretty much all you're after. The only thing is, and surprisingly, I'm actually pretty shocked to see this, Atlanta is 4th against quarterback fantasy points. But I think that's because their run defense is so bad that they run the ball, and I think Adrian Peterson is going to go off on Sunday. But like I said, if you're looking for low double digits, then that would probably be it.
All right, so let's move on to running backs then. Jeremy, who is your RB of the week?
I'm going with Chris Ivory. I cannot believe he is $7,000. He's cheap, and he's playing an atrocious Miami Dolphins defense, run defense specifically, but I guess typically defense in general. Ivory is due. He's coming off his worst game of the season. I just think he's got a great matchup, and I believe Fitz is back. That's definitely going to open up the passing game, but it's not like it's going to matter. Miami has just proven that they're horrible, and it's at New York, so I think they run the ball quite a bit, and Ivory has a great game.
Yeah, Ivory tied for 3rd in rushing touchdowns, 8th in rushing yards, and like you said, he gets to take on the horrible Miami Dolphins defense. Chris Ivory, of course, I've talked about time and time again this year. He was one of my absolute favorite value picks, and he has clearly backed me up on that. I love Ivory this week and for the rest of the season going forward.
Well, Trent, I appreciate your concurrence. Is that the word?
Sure.
Let's go with your second running back.
You mean my first running back?
No, because you already said Rawls.
No, I did not. We talked about Thomas Rawls.
It's Thanksgiving morning. I'm drunk.
Well, since the suspense is gone, yes, my running back of the week is in fact Thomas Rawls. They're playing the Steelers, who again have. I know you're going to say, just like with Bridgewater, they're playing a statistically tough defense. doesn't matter to me here either because, 255 total yards, 2 touchdowns. He's had 4 starts this year. He's gone over 100 yards 3 times. He had 33 touches last week. Fred Jackson is a total afterthought. Thomas Rawls is going to get all of the touches out of the backfield. This should be a close game. The Seahawks will be running the ball late in the fourth quarter. Rawls easily gets 25-plus touches this week. And if he scores a touchdown or 2, now all of a sudden you're talking about a 25-point game. And I definitely think that's possible.
I really, really like the fact that you're going against the grain this week. I basically pick all my picks based off of probability, and this is the exact opposite pick of anything I would ever pick. I love it. I know you got another one of those later on coming up, but as far as a volume, I do think Rawls will more than likely, get his 20 touches, but I just don't know if he's going to be rushing for 209 yards against Pittsburgh's amazing run defense. So, as far as the production, I think it would be worth it, especially because he's under 7,000. But I just think there's better options out there.
Well, let's hear who you think one of the better options is, Jeremy. Who's your second running back?
Well, Javorius Allen. He is the guy in Baltimore now. He ended up having 22 carries last week.
For a whopping 69 yards, by the way.
67, get it right.
Excuse me. Right at 3 yards a carry.
Yeah, but St. Louis is definitely top half against the run. No running back typically has a good game against them. The most important feat, Trent, is that he had 5 catches for 48 yards in 3/4 of a game. He had 14 points. So no, more than that. He had 9. He had 15 points. So I like Allen. I think he's going to be good, and Cleveland's run defense is terrible. So what I like, it's very weird, because last year Forsett got a ton of catches, right?
Sure.
This year he's getting none. Trestman comes in. He still gets none. You think Forsett's going to go off because of what he did with Forte. But now Allen steps up and gets 5 catches right off the bat. If he can keep that, Allen's going to be a very, very valuable piece to somebody's fantasy team for the rest of the year.
Yes, but this is the part of the podcast where I point out he does not have Joe Flacco throwing him the ball anymore like he did last week.
That's right.
He now has Matt freaking Schaub as his quarterback. So
that's almost an upgrade over Flacco.
The Ravens' offense has gone from a big 3 of Flacco, Steve Smith, and Justin Forsett to Matt Schaub, Kamar Aiken, and Javorius Buck Allen.
So Baltimore's D is going to just be, or Baltimore's O is going to be incredible for the rest of the year.
Incredible is one way to describe it, sure. I could not be further out on an entire team than I am out on the Baltimore Ravens right now.
Wow.
There's absolutely no reason to be fearful of Matt Schaub, and so as a result, the Browns will be able to stack the box, and Buck Allen may have a very long afternoon.
Have you have you ever noticed that Flacco and Schaub kind of look alike?
Except Flacco has one of the most dangerous arms in the NFL.
I don't know about that.
He's got one of the strong. He can throw the ball further than just about anybody. Now,
sure, Tannehill's got a gun too. He can throw a long ball like a.
I'm just saying, Matt Schaub is not nearly the player Joe Flacco is.
Oh, I just meant look, like literally their face, their mouth, like they have the same mouth.
I don't spend much time staring at guys' mouths. You're gonna have
but
to
I guess this isn't
that one for both of us.
I guess this isn't TMZ FanDuel. This is Pick'em FanDuel. We could talk about other stuff later. So anyway, moving on. Trent, who is your final running back pick of the week?
All right, so my second running back, who I feel much strongly about than your second running back, I like T.J. Yeldon this week. The Jaguars have all of a sudden found themselves just one game out of the division lead. Now, they are in the worst division one of the 2 worst divisions in football. I think the Jaguars have a legitimate chance of winning this division. They have a bunch of skilled young players on offense, including Yeldon. And oh yeah, they're playing the, for now, San Diego Chargers, who look like they're ready to move to LA just about any day now. They have completely given up on this season, and I think the Jaguars keep their momentum going. I think they win, and I think Yeldon has a good afternoon.
Is that who's projected to go to LA? The Chargers?
It looks like, yeah.
Really? That's so random. I mean, they're moving like, what, 2 hours away?
That's the same thing the Raiders did.
Yeah, I guess, but oh well. I do like Yeldon. I think Yeldon is a good pick this week.
Not much to say about my running back after I destroyed yours, huh?
No, I'm in agreement.
All right. Well, let's move on to wide receivers. Jeremy, who is your wide receiver of the week?
I don't know which one of these guys to pick first. I like the matchup of one better, but I definitely like the player. I like the player of the other one better. I'm gonna go with Amari Cooper just because I think he was like 6,900, right? What was he?
Yeah, 6,900.
That's
might
crazy.
Might have even been 68.
I know he had a horrible game last week, but I mean, Crabtree didn't have a good game either, so it was just a bad offensive performance. But he still, gets a ton of targets, and he's going to produce. So I know they're playing Tennessee, and they have an underrated secondary, but Tennessee can definitely give up points in a hurry. So I really like Cooper this week.
Yeah, Tennessee is another 2-8 team. Not much to be fearful of there. Like you were saying, though, the only real concern for me is who is going to be the future wide receiver for the Raiders, because it seems to change every week between Crabtree and Cooper. If Cooper gets the chance to be the starring receiver this week, though, he could easily rack up 100 yards and a touchdown.
Here's an interesting fact, Trent. Amari Cooper is 3 inches taller than me, 50 pounds heavier than me, and 5 years younger than me. And he's got a lot more money than I do. What am I doing with my life?
You're hosting a podcast with me on Thanksgiving morning.
We need to get some advertisements coming in so we can get some more revenue coming in. But, Trent, give us your wide receiver pick of the week.
All right, so for me, my wide receiver pick of the week, he is now the number one wide receiver in the number one scoring offense in the NFL. Believe it or not, the man I'm talking about is Brandon LaFell. Now, he had kind of a quiet game on Monday against the Bills, but the entire Patriots offense struggled a little bit outside of Danny Amendola, of course. Amendola was awesome in that game, but Amendola is questionable to even play this week, so if Amendola misses this week, it's going to be a heavy, heavy dose of Brandon LaFell and Rob Gronkowski. LaFell could get 15 targets this week. So I could easily see 100-plus yards and a touchdown coming for LaFell.
Is that, what alternate reality do you live on? You are going against Denver's secondary. Aqib Talib will shut Brandon LaFell down so fast, so quickly. I personally think Talib is better than Revis. LaFell will do nothing in this game.
I don't think the Broncos are going to bother shadowing LaFell, though. I think they're just going to move Talib around the field based on matchups. And
we'll definitely see, but I want nothing to do with that. Anybody in that secondary. I think Gronk is going to be the major beneficiary of this game, but I am not picking LaFell. I've been drooling, waiting for you to do your wide receiver picks. Can't wait for the next one, my friend.
All right, so let's hear your second wide receiver then this week.
Devontae Adams, coming off of not a very good game, but the two before that were very good games. He had 10 receptions in one of those, so he's definitely...
You have to get 21 targets to do that, though.
Whatever it takes. So yeah, anyway, 10 receptions. He's had a combined in the last 3 games. Speaking of targets, he's had 35 targets in the last 3 games. He's actually played some very, very good defenses. Well, I wouldn't say Detroit is very good, but Carolina and Minnesota are very good defenses. Now, playing Chicago, they're 15. It's Thanksgiving. Think about it. They're just thinking past the stats. It's Aaron Rodgers. He loves the limelight. He's the best quarterback in the league. He will prove that they still got it. I think the Packers put up a ton of points this week. I hope Chicago does too, so it's a high-scoring game. But I really like Adams this week, and he's very inexpensive.
So, as I explained to you last week when you picked Davante Adams and he scored a whopping 6 points, he is taking a back seat in this offense now. They tried for 2 weeks to make him the number one receiver, and their offense did not look very good. He took a back.
Who is their number one?
Randall Cobb.
I know, but look at his numbers.
Granted, but Cobb is still getting the most looks in the red zone.
No, he's not. James Jones and Richard Rodgers are getting all the red zone looks.
Cobb had 2 targets in the end zone last week.
That's one game. Have you watched the Packers this year?
A few times, to be perfectly honest.
I've watched them pretty much every single week.
But here's the point I'm trying to make. Davante Adams took a back seat last week, and the offense got back on track. I don't think they're now going to increase his volume back when they finally had a good game by targeting him less. I think the role that you saw last week is his role going forward. He is about their 3rd receiving target. He's not going to get 21 targets in a game ever again. He might get 6 or 7 at most.
So Randall Cobb had 2 receptions for 24 yards last week.
Yeah, but he had 9 targets. He had a bad game, but he still got the targets.
You just bashed Davante Adams for having 21 targets to get 10 receptions.
I understand.
Now you're saying Randall Cobb had 9 targets to get 2. That's a worse percentage.
No, it definitely is.
Your argument
Randall
is flawed.
Cobb
I'm just putting it that way.
My argument's not flawed because all I'm saying is the Packers offense got better by using Davante Adams less. Period. That's what happened last.
You're saying Cobb will be the guy. They didn't use Cobb more. They did not. He had 2 receptions for 24 yards.
But see they did use him more because he had more targets. He didn't have a great game catching the ball personally, but the offense still flowed better through Randall Cobb.
Just give up. Let's move on.
6 points last week, like I predicted.
Great prediction. Who is your pick of the week?
My
second.
Yeah, my second wide receiver, the touchdown scoring machine. Again, Jeremy, you're going to talk about how the defense he's going up against is tough. I don't care. I like Martavis Bryant.
I'm glad you don't care because that's going to win me $100.
I like Martavis Bryant. He scores every time he plays, it seems like. He's averaging 17 fantasy points per game in the 4 games that he's played this year. There's just something about this guy when he gets on the field that he makes things happen. And, Seattle, they've given up the second fewest passing yards. But, again, I'm not really worried about the total yardage because that's not where Bryant excels at anyway. He excels in the end zone. Big Ben is back and 100%. I believe they're coming off a bye, aren't they? Either way, I like Martavis Bryant.
I don't like him. Not only is Seattle the second ranked against wide receivers, they are playing at Seattle. Playing in Seattle, there's no other stadium like it. The fans are so loud. It's a poor man's Texas A&M stadium, literally, and I don't like the matchup. Like I said, he does seem like he gets in the end zone every time he plays, and I could see him having a touchdown, but he's not going to go off. It would be like 3 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown. I just can't see Big Ben going off. I'm assuming Sherman will probably be. Well, no, they don't. Sherman just sticks to the one side. It seems like, depending, from what I watch the Seahawks. But anyway, I don't, there's far better options out there.
Okay, so let's move on to our favorite position, Jeremy, tight ends.
Oh, it's nice to be revived in the tight end position. I am killing it in tight ends this year, my friend.
I don't know if that's what I would call it, but sure.
Comparatively speaking. I'm going a bit of a reach here. Martellus Bennett is out. He is not playing. Zach Miller has emerged onto the scene, and he's been doing well. Did not have a super great game last week, but again, they played Denver. Denver's defense is the best in the league. So he's had 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. They're going against Green Bay, who is 26th against tight ends. Really not much to argue with here, and the fact that there's not many others to pick.
Yeah, this is just, I'm really getting tired of picking tight ends. It's
I
so
love it.
thin. I really don't have much to say. No one really wants to ever have to play Zach Miller on their fantasy lineups, so the fact that we're having to pick him on this show kind of speaks volumes about the lack of depth at the position. Sure, you gotta pick somebody.
Well, who do you think would be better than Zach Miller?
So I talked about his quarterback earlier, Teddy Bridgewater. Kyle Rudolph had 6 catches over 100 yards and a touchdown last week. I picked him a couple times earlier this year. Now, he's not a dynamic playmaker by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he goes over 100 yards again. But he does have a knack for finding the end zone occasionally. And look, really echoing what I was just saying, tight ends suck. It's hard to pick them. This is the guy who I'm taking a flyer on this week.
Let me read you some statistic, or I'm just gonna shout out some numbers, and you let me know what you think they are. 3, 2, 4, 1, 5. Now these are not putts. These are not putts on a golf course. These are Kyle Rudolph's fantasy full game, full point PPR statistics. Those were just a handful of some of the games he's had. Now, to his defense, he did go off last week for 22 against Green Bay. And guess who's playing Green Bay this week, Trent? The tight end that I just picked. However, Kyle Rudolph is not good. Did you by chance see that ball where he was wide open in the end zone and it hit his hands and dropped? Like no one was in. It was one of those like play actions and Bridgewater rolled out where the defense commits all to a run and then the tight end is wide open. Did you see that play where he just dropped it?
I did not see that play, no.
Any ounce of respect I had left for him was gone. Rudolph will get less than 5 this week. Mark my words.
Yeah, again, I don't really.
But hey,
I don't really care.
I want $100, man, as much as the next guy. Well, that does it for the show this week, Trent. We had some good arguments. I definitely think it was our best argument of the week. Our loyal listeners, voice your opinions on Facebook. Let us know what you think about it. And happy Thanksgiving. I'm so glad we got football to watch all day, Trent.
Yeah, for sure. Football all day, 3 games today, plus college football as well. UT plays tonight.
Would you rather watch the NFL or would you rather watch Texas play Texas Tech? Or UCF versus, who are they playing?
I have no idea. But honestly, like, for me, like, the Packers and Bears is the night game. I'm not really interested in the Packers and the Bears. So for someone like me, I probably would be more interested in the Texas Tech game. But
There's
I realize
a ton of fantasy implications, though, on that game.
Granted, and I do have Randall Cobb on my season-long team, but in terms of sitting down and watching a game, me personally, I would be more interested in the Texas game, but I realize that puts me in the minority.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of Texas haters out there that want to watch Tech beat the pants off of them, so I'm sure I'll be tuning into the game as well. All right, Trent. Well, happy Thanksgiving. Any parting words, Trenton?
No, I can't wait to see how that Ravens offense looks this week.
Oh my gosh, that's. What if they go off?
I hope they do. I hope they score 42.
I want Schaub to just go off, obliterate the Browns' offense.
Kamar Aiken's going to have 200 yards.
Oh, whatever. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. We appreciate you, and have a happy Thanksgiving.